learners to session 9 of this management theories, BUS301. And in this session, we are discussing change management theories. In the last session, we discussed leadership theories. We discussed the classical theories, which is threat, contingency, and behavioral. And we argued that they are a trinity, 3 in 1, because at any point in time, 3 of them are. That means what you do is behavioral, is a function of your character, which is a trait, and depends on the circumstance, which is the contingency. We now talked about the newer theories. We talk about servant leadership. We also talk about transformational leadership. In this session, we discuss an issue that has become very critical in the current world and environment. Change. Change has become so, it's pervasive. It's become a plague, and that things are changing. Individuals are changing, companies are changing, environments are changing. I believe that if Ford were to come in, wake up now, and enter into any of his Ford cars, Ford factories, he'll be surprised. He'll be surprised to see that, for instance, the workers have taken the upper hand, and that even the customers determine what will be done. They are all change, technology, and all that. Competition, these are all factors leading to change. So at the end of this session, you'll be able to, number 1, discuss the elements of Lewin's theory of change, compare and contrast theory O and E, evaluate Cotter's 8-step theory of change, and differentiate between change and transition with the Bridges transition model as a sample. Lewin, 1947, is the grandfather of them all, because he was the first. His was the first theory of change management that ever was propounded. He sees change management, not change, take note, this change management we're talking about, as a 3-point agenda in which you unfreeze, change, and refreeze. Assuming you have a block, an ice block that's triangular, and you want to convert it into a circular, what do? You freeze the block entirely, ice block. After you have frozen it, you put it into a circular container. After you have done that, you refreeze it. That's what he has said. The unfreezing ensures creating a readiness for change. After you have done that, you now execute the intended change, and you ensure that the change becomes permanent. That's what it is. He also argues that at any point in time, there is always some driving forces and some restraining forces. That's what's called force field analysis. So at any point in time, for you to get what you need, the driving forces must be more, or at least be able to withstand the restraining forces. If the restraining forces are more, the change will not work. So that is Lewin, a 3-point agenda: unfreeze, change, and refreeze. Very straightforward, though it's not as straightforward as we were thinking about. Now, Beer and Nohaya had what they called theory E and O. E talks about economic value, and O talks about developing the organizational culture and system. So the explicit goal of theory E is to rapidly and dramatically increase shareholder value by relying on things like cash flow and share price readjustments. It focuses on the formal system from the top and uses help by consultants and powered by financial incentives. So theory E, increase shareholder value, relying on trying to increase short-term flow and share prices, and depending on formal structure and systems, is driven from the top, and at times consultants are coming and financial incentives are given. That's how theory O works. Increase shareholder value and uses these strategies: short-term cash flow, share prices. Uses the formal structure and system and is authoritative, is driving from above. And most often financial consultants are called in, and incentives are the key thing that is used. Theory O, on the other hand, aims to develop the culture that supports learning and high performance employee base by ramping up the corporate culture and capability through individual and organizational learning. Theory O talks about the organizational culture, values, learning, so that the employee base is raised and through individual and organizational level. So employee participation, class structure, and bonding between the organization and this level. You see that theory O is almost like theory X. Theory E is almost like theory X. Order is order, top down. Theory O is more like theory Y, which talks about organization participation, flatter structure, strong bonds between the organization and its people. Theory E and O. The first is shareholder value, and the other one talks about culture, value system, and all. If you compare them, theory O, theory E, and O, if you compare them in terms of goals, leadership, focus, process, reward basis, and use of consultants, you find that while theory E tries to enhance shareholder value, the theory O tries to develop organizational capabilities. For theory E, you manage change from atop, is order from above, but theory O supports a bottom-up approach. Theory E emphasizes structure and systems, while theory O tries to build up the corporate culture and employee behaviors and attitudes. Theory E tries to plan and establish process, while O talks about experimentation and evolution. Theory E rewards through financial incentives, while theory O looks at encouraging staff commitment. In theory E, the consultants analyze problems and shape solutions, but in theory O, they help the management in shaping their own solution. It doesn't mean that consultants are not needed in theory O, but the objective is different. Whereas they come there in theory E to market their own solutions, in theory O, they help the managers to market those solutions. Theory E and theory O. The first was Lewin's 3-point theory. This is E and O, with one focused on economic value and the other one on organizational values and capabilities. Now we'll come to Kotter. Kotter has an 8-point agenda, how you can implement change. He say you can implement change in 8 steps. Number 1, you create these 8 steps are actually divided into 3. Creating the climate for change, engaging and enabling the whole organization, and implementing and sustaining change. Creating a climate for change involves increasing a sense of urgency. People have to believe that change is necessary. If you call a staff meeting and show them your financials, where you moved from 1.4 billion 3 years ago to 8 billion last year to 2.5 this year, and they see that you are also behaving in such a way as to do that, you find out that you have already increased sense of urgency. Change occurs when people are ready for change. After that, you build the appropriate team, and then you get the right vision. People have wondered why the vision should come number 3. The vision should have been the first, so that you now start working on a vision. It is part of the vision that you will create a sense of urgency and build the team. But that's the way he has it. Urgency, team building, and the vision. Then you communicate. What do you communicate? What do you want? Why do you want to change? What is changing? Who is changing? What are the benefits? What are the challenges? Including feedback. It's after that people buy in. You empower people to act. Give them training, give them materials. You create short wins. Instead of waiting until you have had a target, met a target of 1 billion, you divide it into 200 million. So when you have 200 million, you celebrate. That's what we call creating short-term wins. And you should not let up. You keep on firing And after you have done that, you make sure it sticks. That sticking is what is called sustaining the change. So the 8 starts from creating the climate for change, enabling the whole organization, enabling and engaging, and then implementing and sustaining change. But at the beginning is the increasing sense of urgency, that people will feel that change is essential and it must be executed. If the sense of urgency is not there, then it's very well for people to agree on the change. The sense of urgency must be there. But like I said in a critique, it should have started from a vision. Now, change and transition is very different. Change is an event. As from Monday, you start wearing suit to work, suit and tie. That's change. But after that Monday, how do you come to terms to make sure that your body and soul have accepted what you are asked to do? Maybe on Monday you wear tie to work, but once your oga goes out, you will lose the tie. When you see him coming in, you tie it again. That means you have not actually readjusted and accepted the whatever. So transition is a process. It starts with denial, because before you go to the new, you must end it first. So you have an ending. You end the old order. After that, you enter the neutral zone. You'll be confused, maybe apathetic. But before you move to a new beginning, the issue that before you get to a new beginning, you must end with the old. And that is what this transition is all about. There must be the old that people must end. Even if it's in relationship and you are tired of a friend, you have to get done with that relationship. You have to end. It's sad. You are angry that you have ended that relationship or that employment or the way you were doing things before. And you get to a neutral end between the old and the new. That's a transition, actually. You are confused, you are pathetic, you are skeptical, you are not sure. And then you move to the new beginning. This tells you that change is different from transition. And the problem we have with change management is that people confuse change with transition. If you ask all the staff of OOU to move over to a new site at Shagamu on a given date, that day all of them will move. But they are sad, they regret the friends and neighbors they have, they are not happy with the place they were eating before they have lost. They are not happy that when they got to Shagamu, they couldn't see the kind of under the tree shade where they go to relax. But these are things that they must give up in order to move into the new beginning. So between the new ending and the beginning is a neutral zone where you're wondering what to do. Is it the right thing for me to do? Is it not the right thing for me? From there, you move to the new beginning. At the new beginning, things are looked up and the transition has worked. That is when the change you are talking about will start having some impact. So change is an event, transition is a process. Change happens on a given day, transition happens over a period of time, depending on how you readjust to the change, so that you accept it and make sure the change becomes part of you. Like I said, they order you to start wearing suit from Monday, suit and tie, and you grudgingly do that. So once you look, the manager is not around, you lose your tie. When you see him, you have not accepted that. So that is the major thing, the difference between change and transition. Change happens on a day, transition takes long. And how the transition works depends on the kind of support that the management gives to the staff during that transition program. The greatest mistake that we make is to think that we have changed once the change is decreed. People must gradually buy into the change, get used to it, and move themselves in a new mode where a new beginning becomes. At that new beginning, the staff are excited, they are energized, they are committed, they found the reason for the change, they bought the change, and it's now part of them. So it's a process. It's a process. So on this session, as a summary, we've discussed about change. We talked about the factors that lead to change, including competition, technology, weather, and imitation. When you try to do things because other people are doing it. And we looked at the models, starting from Lewin, the first person who initiated the first. It was a 3-point agenda. After that, we talked about theory E and O. Theory E is a top-down thing that talks about economic value. Theory O is more participative and talks about organizational capability. We talk about Porter, who has an 8-point agenda, starting from making sure that there's a sense of urgency before setting up a team and division, and that is creating the environment, doing the change, and sustaining it. I thank you for listening as we prepare for the next session, which will be with you in a short while. Thank you for listening.